captaincy was something no matter what the team was, and from a very early age, it sat pretty well with me from an on-field point of view. So it's, I've always thought that I had a pretty good idea of, how to do things out in the field. So I didn't find that difficult. At the time, you think, you probably, took a deep breath and, thought about, probably you think your mind switches straight to like, right, what team are we picking and who, when's the next game and how long have I got to get ready for it sort of thing. So, but then now, finish your career and you look back and, it's like getting a bag of green cap and, same sort of thing. No one can ever take that away from you. So, yeah, it'll be, looking back in a few years' time or however long, it's a nice thing to be able to think, I did that one day.
Hi everybody, welcome to the podcast. This is Humans with Luke McCredden. I'm Luke McCredden. The voice you heard there off the top was Cameron White. Cameron has spent the majority of his life playing cricket at a professional level for Victoria but also Australia, playing all around the world with all sorts of characters and all sorts of environments. We had a really good chat recently about cricket, about leadership and what it takes, but also the next chapter when your playing days come to an end. There's a bit of boating and fishing chat in there too because it's something we both love. But hopefully you love this chat. This is episode 3 with Cameron White. Good stuff. Thanks for coming in. This is good.
So how we go.
I haven't spoken to you for a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a little bit. We were just sort of saying off air that you were, it's kind of different for you right now. You'd be getting stuck into training in a normal... I won't say normal, in the last, 15 years or so?
You're almost 20 now, but
Wow.
I'm still doing a bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, I am playing Big Bash with the Adelaide Strikers over the Christmas period, which is going to be a bit of a change for me. But
Across the border.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. So I've got to keep in some sort of reasonable shape there. If I leave myself too much to do too late, it'll be hard work. So, yeah, still doing a bit most days in between, a few other bits and pieces, a bit of coaching and a bit of, family time and a bit of this sort of stuff, a bit of radio. I'm doing a segment for RSN, throughout the Cricket World Cup and hopefully into the Ashes as well. So, as I said to you off air, I thought I would have a little bit more time on my hands, but I seem to be as busy as ever.
It's gone the other way. Do you naturally have, are you a natural sort of trainer? Like you get up most mornings regardless if you've got Cricket Victoria training as you have had in the last 20 years. As to now, you still got that.
Yeah, well, I've got no choice to be able to. I have to do it still. So, I'm your typical white Caucasian as well. I put on weight looking at a can of Coke, let alone drinking one. So, I'm lucky I've got a couple of mates that live in the area. So we've been doing a bit of F45, which is sort of like a bit of a good change up for me. I've been stuck in the routine of, team sport for the best part of, 20 years now. So to be able to train when and where I like and do whatever now is, it feels good. It's good mentally. So,
from a mental point of view, that is a big sort of change for you now, isn't it? Because it's been team sport and that team environment for the majority of your life now, and at a high level. So how does it feel now? Do you feel like that's, even though you're still obviously within club organisations and whatnot and playing in some capacity, but has that changed your way of thinking at all, or does it feel different?
Oh, it definitely feels different. It's just more that, the realisation that I've sort of finished up playing cricket for Victoria. I think it's been obviously a huge part of my life. It's taken up over half of it at this stage. So, it's just a bit of a weird one. I'm not sure whether I don't miss it just at the moment, the pre-seasons and the long drawn-out sort of days, training. So it'll be interesting to see when the boys start playing how I sort of feel about it then. Yeah. So, I know, I wasn't missing playing 4-day cricket, especially towards the end of the year. I don't like fielding that much, mate. It takes too much concentration in the slips. So, it's definitely a big change not having that sort of, all the comfort of knowing that you're sort of knowing where your next paycheck's going to come from. That's for sure. So that's why I'm probably pretty lucky for another 12 months, with this Big Bash sort of gig over in Adelaide with the Strikers, it'll be something very new to me. I've played and experienced all my cricket in Victoria. So,
how are they going to accept you?
Oh, well, South Australians traditionally don't accept Victorians too well, do they? Yeah. But it will be good for my development as, I think I want to, once cricket's all done and dusted from a playing point of view, I want to stay in cricket in some sort of, capacity, hopefully in coaching. So it'll be good for me to experience a new set of voices and ideas and people. It'll be good for just a good experience all round to work with a new group of people outside of Victoria. So there's some really, really impressive people there as well. Jason Gillespie and Michael Divenuto are the two main coaches, along with Greg Blewett, and a few other guys, and another bloke by the name of Joe Dawes. So very highly regarded coaches in the cricketing industry. So it'd be a good opportunity for me to learn plenty.
I don't want to get too journalistic because this is a conversational podcast and it's what it's about. But I haven't spoken to you much since the Cricket Victoria contract didn't get up again for this year.
Mm-hmm.
How did that catch you by surprise a bit?
No, not by surprise. I was obviously any time that you get sacked or get the flick from anything you like doing and you want to do, it's you get pretty disappointed at the time. But I had an inkling that it might be on the cards. I think a lot of the time in life, if something doesn't feel right, it generally isn't. So I had that feeling from a long way out from the start of long way out from the end of the season. Sorry. So I was sort of a bit prepared for it. But yeah, as I sort of said to you, just a sec ago, that until you actually get the, tap in the shoulder or the boss calls you into the office to say, look, mate, this is it. It's you're still holding on to more hope and, you still think you might be, and in my case, I thought that I still had plenty to give. I wanted to keep playing and I thought there was a role there for me. But unfortunately, it doesn't always end how you'd like it to. So, and that was the same in my case. But, what do? You can piss and moan, I guess, or you can just, push on and try and look for the next things to do. And, for me, as I said, I still want to stay in cricket and so I still want to keep playing. So I'm lucky they've got the 1 year deal at the Strikers and, who knows how that'll sort of play out. So, it's all about how you move on, I guess. Yeah.
What have you had, because I've spoken to you quite a bit over the years, and as you know, my brother loves a stat. And he often flicks me a message with some of your stats. Have you had a chance to just sort of sit back and go, fuck, I did it right for Victoria as a Victorian cricketer? Because, again, without getting too sports journalistic, because I'm not, you're sort of up there as one of Cricket Victoria's all-time greats in a lot of categories. Well, I looked at that and thought,
I don't have to look too hard at the personal stats, do they? There's plenty with much better stats than me, so I try to steer away from them. But I can take a bit of satisfaction to knowing that I played in 6 winning grand finals with with my teammates. So that was in Sheffield Shield cricket, that is, and along the over the years played in some other wins, the Big Bash win and recently, and some other titles and trophies that we won with Cricket Victoria. So they're the things I remember, and you look back on that. Winning's a good thing, and you look forward to the the reunions and getting on the piss with the boys again. So I look forward to that when it sort of comes around, and because we won a few times, there'll be a few of them. So that's good.
All right, that's good. You might need some ring-ins because you won so many, so I'll put my hand up.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, because at some point, I mean, the thing I always think about with someone like yourself who, and you look at a lot of footballers and stuff that play till they're into their mid-30s, late 30s, and that's you got to at some point think, I've really done well to get this far. Do you ever also think about the regional boy from Bairnsdale who moved to Melbourne to start playing cricket at a professional level, and what that kid was like as to what you are now?
Yeah, I do all the time, and often when I talk about whether it's things like this or if I'm asked to go and speak at a sporting club or something like that, it's sort of about the journey and how it comes up. And a question that is often asked about when I was lucky enough to captain Victoria at a very early age. So people ask me how I sort of dealt with some of the names that I was captaining. Shane Warne, Matthew Elliott, Brad Hodge. Some pretty big names. So, but I often say that I was probably lucky that I was from Bairnsdale and only sort of 19 or 20, and probably oblivious to a lot of the pressures of professional sport, and I probably just had no idea, to be honest with you. So I was probably lucky in a way that I was a bit like that. So it sort of didn't affect me. It didn't affect me too much. But yeah, obviously looking back now, coming from, moving basically to Melbourne from Bensdale, which is a pretty big change.
How old were you?
I think pretty much when I finished school, so 17 going on 18.
Did you move on your own, or did you have family?
No, initially I had my auntie and uncle lived just in Burwood, so I used to bunk when I was travelling down from about the age of 14. My parents, would bunk in there sort of a lot of the time when we had to stay overnight or for a couple of days or for whatever was on. And then eventually, once I finished school, I just moved out into Richmond with a few mates, and I haven't gone far since in the last 20 years. I think between Richmond and East Melbourne, I've changed houses 3 or 4 times, and that's about it. Moved about 4 kilometres.
Do you feel like did you get much stick or much flack as a young captain on a personal level behind the scenes? Did you feel like you were getting a bit of who's this young punk type?
No, not from. Obviously, there was lots of challenges, things that I weren't, that I wasn't very good at. So the main challenges were from my teammates, really, and it wasn't a lot of on-field stuff, to be honest. As a young captain, I had to very quickly learn about the stuff that didn't come natural to me, and
like
stuff
fishing.
that I didn't know. I'm a good fisherman, you know that. So things like player management, learning how to run a team, dealing with personalities, and what language to use. So as a very young, inexperienced person coming from Bensdale, I had to learn that stuff on the fly.
Yeah.
So I made, many mistakes and, said the wrong thing to a few people, or many people. So, but it was all in my, it was all about learning, and I had some good people around me, some good coaches, with lots of support. So yeah, some challenges along the way, but,
one of those things that you would have had to manage as not just a captain, but as a young person coming into a professional sport, I dare say, is money. And one thing that blows my mind with some of the stories you hear from some sports around the world, for example, and I always talk about this with people and just get blown away that there's a stat that 80% of all NBA basketballers end up bankrupt. 80%. And these are guys that are on tens of millions. I'm not saying you're on that at Cricket Victoria, but it's just from lack of education about what to do and how to manage yourself and the money that you were getting. But even as a young kid, getting paid to just play sport full time, was that something you had to learn how to deal with?
Yeah. So I guess a lot of that stuff probably stems from how you're brought up with your parents and the direction that they push you towards. But I was probably very lucky. I got some good advice early on. When I was coming down from the country, I started playing my sort of senior cricket or underage cricket with Dandenong in an under-16 competition, part of the pathway competition into cricket, which still exists today. And through someone at the club, they introduced me to a bloke by the name of Jared Sholly, and he was a player manager and mainly involved in footy at that time. And this was probably before the times of Big Bash and before cricket and cricket player management become a sort of a thing. So I was just very lucky, and he's still my manager today. So he's been very good, with me about advice, over the years and dealing with, finances and buying a house here or there or whatever it may be, just to making sure that you're making the right decisions with that sort of thing, along with lots of other, advice and just being a good, sounding board pretty much. So I was probably lucky in that regard, but I guess it probably gets back to maybe the people that you surround yourself with or you hang out with, or in my case just a bit of good advice and some good people at a at a local at a club. So especially when you're younger, you don't really know who you should be hanging out with or what you should be doing. So
and that's the thing. And again, there's sports around the world where there's tens and hundreds of millions getting thrown around, and all of a sudden people love to give advice on where that money should go. But even to a lesser extent, it's still something as a young person in any sort of element of life, work-wise, they might pick up a dream job that pays heaps, and you got to be careful.
Yeah, that's right. You hear about gambling, even here in Victoria with AFL, and I'm sure lots of other sports as well. There's plenty of traps out there, isn't there? So you've got to be careful. But at the same time, I think it's important that, for sportsmen especially, it's not just about, not spending a dollar either. You've got to enjoy your life, and if that means doing whatever you want with a bit of cash to make sure you do that, because something like footy, especially where it's a bloody tough career and you don't play for all that long. The lifespan isn't that long. I think you've got to enjoy life. So But anyway, enough talking about cash.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, no, I want to ask one more thing about cash.
Right.
Because there was a point, it was like a trigger point from the outside looking in, where cricket became really big time in terms of opportunity to make some cash. And that seemingly was when the IPL come along. It again, from the outside looking in, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's probably a fair point, I think. So yeah, the IPL, along with other leagues around the world, have started up over the last dozen years or so. So bloody good timing for me, I must admit. But
well, I think because it became public, because they were announcing what so and so bidded X amount on Shane Watson.
Yeah,
and you go, Jesus,
ridiculous amounts of money. Yeah. That's right. So yes, that's probably very true. Since probably since 2020 come along, and that and since then we've had it's great now in domestic. Especially domestic players here, and you don't have to be just an international player to be able to make good money from from playing cricket for your state, and that's the same case around the world in some of the other with the introduction of some of the other T20 leagues. So yeah, it's a good thing. Not only if you're a gun T20 player, you can play for big money if that's what you want to do alongside your playing for your country. But now we're seeing comps like Big Bash where you can just be not playing cricket for your country and still earning good wedge.
Yep, good.
It's good. It's good for the players.
Absolutely.
I think you got to like most professional sports, it's Big Bash is sort of to give the listeners a bit of an idea. It's pretty it's pretty high pressure sort of thing. It's as close as you can get to international cricket. At a domestic level, so you make a duck, you flick your social media on, all about it, sort of thing. So you earn your money playing, with the pressures that you've got to deal with.
What's that like? I mean, that's something you've dealt with at an international level, domestic level, in all forms, short and long. Is the social media? Do a lot of people tend to just switch it off and don't, or is it hard to get away from? Like if you've made a couple of ducks and you're not taking wickets as a bowler or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's hard to get away from because it's just there. It's there. It's on you. It's everywhere. So whether it's then you've got the paper as well. So what do? You hide under a rock and you basically live your life on your phone. Like I don't have a computer these days. You just run your emails and everything through your phone. But anyway, look, everyone deals with that sort of stuff differently. And it's part of, playing sports. So I was probably pretty lucky. I didn't cop too much over my career, but, there's some people that I know that have been, you get, and it's, you see it in the media and stuff still today's day and age, with shocking examples of what people say, whether they're a sportsman or not, just what people say to each other. It's just, it's no good. So
people love just being arseholes on social media.
It can be, yeah.
But I'd imagine with a profile, you're an easy target.
Yeah, I guess, once you're on the, if you're playing cricket on the TV and people think you're not playing that well, it's like any sport or anything. I guess they're happy to give it, let you know how you're going. So, but it's, I guess at the end of the day, it's a good leveler. But yeah, but
you still shouldn't have to put up with that. But because it's even in person, if you're walking off a ground, football, cricket, whatever, people are genuinely just hurling a bit. It still blows me away a little bit.
Look, it's not all abuse, but I think it's the main thing is about how you deal with that sort of stuff. Some people really struggle with it. Some people, it's just it's water off a duck's back. So, it's interesting. But look, everyone pays their ticket or pays their subscription on Foxtel, so they're probably entitled to. If you make a duck, get a duck in you.
And everyone's an expert. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
The overseas thing, was that something that you got tired of at some point, or is that fun?
I was. No, I got tired of it pretty quickly because I was, as we've touched on now, from country boy from Bairnsdale, and I, when I wasn't playing cricket, if I got a day off or something like that, there was other things that I would like to do, like fishing or playing golf, or now hanging out with the family and spending time with them. So, although playing cricket over the seas throughout my career was good, and I learnt lots and needed to do that sort of thing. I always missed home and was every time I went away I was almost counting down the days to when I got home. So, hopefully I'll probably have to, if I want to stay in coaching and develop there, I'll probably have to go overseas again.
Yeah. So that's the next for you. You want to really get stuck into this coaching thing? I think you'd be a great coach.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, but cricket's what I know. I've been doing it since I left school. So, going to school at Bensdale Tech, mate. I'm not overly educated to do heaps of stuff. So, and having, been a full-time cricketer for the best part, as we said, 20 years, I haven't sort of done any extra study. I just put all my energy into being a cricketer. So, but I still like it. And I still love cricket and enjoy the coaching and helping side of things. So that's probably where I want to stay for the moment.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, apparently, so and so's into fishing. Oh, that's a bit funny. Oh, an athlete that he loves his fishing." I've spoken to you so many times when you and I have been out fishing or whatever. We go away, and it's so much about that release. Even for me, to get out of the office or get out of work or get away from the home life or whatever for a day or whatever. Is that still what's really important for you about something like fishing?
Yeah, for sure. And I grew up fishing, so it's not so, there is that sort of release element and get away from things and, not have to think about, whether it's work or cricket or whatever it is. But, I just like fishing. I like catching fish. I like, catching a feed of fish, to eat as well. So, it's just something I've always loved. I still love it. My old man still lives back in Bensdale. It's good to catch up with him and go fishing, go away with him and his mates, and go camping for a couple of days. There's nothing. That's one of the things I miss about living in the city. It's not, you know what I mean. When you live in the country, you can go to travel to a couple of hours and you'll be in some sort of great spot where it's pretty not a lot of people around. You sort of got to really put in the hours to sort of, if you're living in around a big city, to find those sort of venues. So. But now to your question, definitely still miss fishing. I can't wait for the day where I've got a bit more time to do some more.
One thing I want to get out of the podcast series that I'm doing is to, throughout the series, talk to all sorts of different people, but I do want to incorporate some people that have the passion of the outdoors and the fishing thing, because I really think it's such an important thing. I know how important it is for me to be outdoors and out in the fresh air, out in the bush, out in the ocean, whatever it may be. And I've actually been talking to some people recently about encouraging them to go and do something like that, even if they've never done it, just to experience. I don't think people ever really know what it's like, and some of the things you experience when you're out and about. It's not just... You get earmarked a little bit sometimes as it's a bit of a cowboy type hobby. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But it can be anything from a real spiritual experience sometimes, especially, things like camping out in the bush when you just got, yourself under the stars.
The thing that sticks in my mind every time I go camping, it's the smell of the bush. Yeah. When you drive into the forest or down by wherever it is, you can smell. It's a different smell, so you never really get to experience that. In and around the city, it's not until you drive into a forest or out into the real countryside in amongst the it's called the bush or whatever. Whether you're up in the mountains or you're somewhere coastal. So that's probably a weird thing to say.
Not
but
one bit.
That's what's always when I go away, I go, oh yeah, I feel as I can smell the bush.
But it's also I think the fresh air. So that smell's all part of that though, and a lot of you city folk, Cam.
Yeah, exactly.
There's an absolute difference in the air quality and the smells and the sounds.
Yep, it's good for the soul, I think, camping and getting away. So I look forward to. I've got 2 girls, mate. So I'm not sure how they're going to go with camping, but we'll give it a go. So I think it's good for today's our little tackers as well. So they're already bred into the TV and the iPad, aren't they? Yep. So. And things like that, so it'll be good for them to get them out and about.
I'm big on making sure that that's a part of my kids' lives too, and we've already, my oldest, she's into her camping, mate. So you'll be right.
Yeah, we're getting there.
But but my middle boy, who's 4, we went out a few months back for his first camping experience, just the swag, and he's all over it.
That's good.
But it's important for me I want to make sure that is a part of their lives, even if it's just easing them into it every now and then, because they need to know that that's there and that's doable. We're pretty lucky in Australia to be able to do that.
Oh, for sure.
And that's probably something you forget as well. Not only that, Australia's unbelievable. And realistically, Victoria and New South Wales, you can explore for your whole life, and there's so many different scenes. There's so much different area to explore, and it really is a luxury to have that. There's endless...
Yeah, there is
amounts of places to go.
People often over playing cricket over the years, you travel to a lot of, very good places, and people ask you, where you're going to go on your, your holiday, and I just, my first answer is always, I'm going to Australia, mate. I'm not going far, whether it's, as you mentioned there, for me, you hook the car and boat up and go somewhere, East Gippsland, or as we both know, and spend a bit of time at a place like, on the south coast, Narooma as well. So places, they're just small places that people might have heard of, but I just, they're as good as anywhere in the world as far as I'm, concerned.
100%.
I've been to a few,
You've been around.
Yeah, so, you think of places like postcard places like, the Caribbean and things like that, and, down south of Sri Lanka or wherever it is, that's, places that, South Africa, there's some great spots there as well. But, and then you think back to some of the places I've been to, just in Victoria and New South Wales, and then you go to the NT and there's endless stuff you can go and see and do, which basically for me all evolves around fishing, but that's all right. That's just buyer's choice. But
yeah, that's right. but even like you would have done a bit of travelling through Africa or a few of the countries. A
little bit. It's hard when you're playing cricket. You go there, play cricket, and by the end of the tour, you're pretty keen to get home. But yeah, you see a little bit of it, and because every now and again you get a chance to do some good stuff. Yeah,
but the thing that you'd notice there, and I've been through a bit of the country or a bit of the continent there, the thing that always sticks out at me is the freedom we've got here, that we can do basically whatever we want in terms of hitting the road and going for it, and not, I don't know, there's always risks involved in doing anything, but Australia,
we've got plenty of rules here, though. That's the only thing I reckon compared to a lot of other countries and states and territories.
In what regard?
Where you can drive your car, to whether you can take your dog, what you're allowed to do, just things like that, where you're allowed to camp. Things like that. Whereas I find, obviously, in the NT, you can basically drive your car anywhere, camp, pull your swag up, do whatever. Whereas I find, down,
you mean down south?
Down south, especially, you're not allowed to do this and you're allowed to do that.
Yeah,
you've got to pay for a site to go and camp and all that sort of stuff. So I find that a bit odd, but anyway, that's another matter.
But yeah, no, it's a fair call. But I think in general, Australia as a whole, the freedom we've got to be able to travel in our own country and do so much.
It's so bloody big. You can go anywhere, can't you?
It's like travelling through different countries when you hit different points of the coast,
Yep.
But you do obviously, even in the States, there's sort of limitations on where you want to go and what you can do and so forth. And I think there's not many. If you're into your sort of exploring or travelling or whatever, there's nowhere in Australia you wouldn't want to go.
No, that's right. So much. Yes, I suppose what you might be getting at that you don't have to worry about. If you turn the wrong, take the wrong corner, or you walk into the wrong neighbourhood, that something's going to go, a bit pear-shaped. But you don't, I guess you don't. We are lucky in many respects in our country where we don't have to worry about that sort of stuff too much.
Yeah, that's true. Young family, how's that all going, mate?
Busy, very busy.
Yeah.
Basically, my eldest is nearly 4 and the youngest has just turned 1. So
4-year-old in fine. My 4-year-old is in absolute fine form, mate.
three-nager we've got at the moment.
God.
So, but anyway, it's something. I wasn't much of a kid person until my 2 came along. So it's been very much another learning experience, but something I'm enjoying along with my wife, Jack. So yeah, it's all going well. So
good.
But, yeah, as I said, keeping me busy.
Absolutely. Fair adventure. Where have you been fishing? Been doing much?
Just local recently. Weather's been, as we just spoke about, a bit ordinary the last couple of weeks, but do most of my fishing these days close by, bottom end of Port Phillip Bay and in Bass Strait. So, I haven't. What else did I do at the end of the season? Did get a quick trip into Narooma for a little bit. Got some kingies at the island there, but locally it's just mainly been the whiting and gummies and squid and the usual sort of stuff kicking around.
Tell me about your rig, your new boat.
Yeah, it's coming along. So I've had the 6-metre Edencraft for probably 12 months now. So yeah, I've almost got it where I want it pretty much. A couple of little bits and pieces to be added. Haven't had the outriggers yet, which has been killing me for when I've been up the coast, but they're about to get put on, so they're ready for the next summer, and then I think I'm done. But they're all, what boats are like. There's always something to add.
Yeah, I know what boats are like, but I know what you're like. There's always something that you're going to get new.
It's got a pie warmer. That's all you need.
You've had a fair evolution of boats through your. Since even I've known you.
Wasted plenty of money on boats. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm not. I'm trying to say that you've stepped up and up and up, and I'm wondering where the next step is.
No, I think I'm hoping this one's lifetime boat. I started what I start with. I started with like a lot of people do, just a Quintrex, and then worked my way into the plate boats with a couple of bar crushers, and then just, dealing with Port Phillip Bay, it's a pretty open expanse of water, and, I find this particular stretch of Bass Strait compared to the, bit of Bass Strait that I used to fish out of, East Gippsland, Lake Centrance, and, that area is much, with no protection from Wilson's Prom, which you got, on that sort of, what's that, eastern side, sorry. So, being on this exposed side, fishing out of, going through the rip and out into Bass Strait, you rarely get a flat day, even on the good day. So
yeah, she's a mad bit of water.
Yeah, it can get quite rough, and there's always a bit of breeze and there's always a bit of chop. So made the move to the deep V glass boat. So
there's been
3 tons of goodness.
3 tons of goodness. It's a fair lump of boat.
Yep.
There's been a fair swing in the boat market, and probably I suppose talk for Victoria more so than I've noticed elsewhere. But I remember as a kid growing up, and obviously, as you said before, spending plenty of time on the New South Wales south coast, and that some of those bigger boats were a bit more frequent. They love their big sort of aluminium boats up there from memory, but seems like there's been this real swing for these big, heavy, powerful, but also just handle anything type boats down here in Victoria lately. Yeah,
especially I reckon the US boats are starting to really, I was trying to think of a brand just since I just said that, but the big sort of high fronted V boats have come into it. Trophy would be one. There's another couple that eludes me at the moment that I've seen around that are sort of, kicking their traditional sort of old school, Hayneses and, V, deep V sort of,
the only thing that
molds out.
Yeah, the only thing that confuses me about those ones, and I get the appeal to bring them over and import them because beautiful boats, but for use here in and around Victoria, it's very open. You're very exposed.
Yeah.
So
they're still the ones I'm thinking of. They're not sort of centre console boats or anything like that. They're more still your cuddies.
Yeah.
They're sort of like your your Hayneses and your Bass Straits and your Edencrafts and boats like that. But they've sort of got a bit more boat in the front of them, aren't they? So, but they're bloody nice boats. But I can see why there's even some more probably grunt in them than compared to these ones.
But even with what you've got, there's not a lot that you can't do.
No, well, that's the reason why I wanted to get the boat. 6 metres isn't overly big. Still wanted to be able to tow it. I know, obviously, the history of the boat and how well it handles in in all conditions. So, and they're great to fish out of. So,
what are you towing that thing with?
Land Cruiser.
Yeah,
all legal, mate.
No, I'm not questioning.
I think that the 200 series Land Cruiser is about as good as tow vehicles you can get these days. Pretty much. Well, there's a couple of other exceptions out there, but it's good for the family as well. Comfortable and it's good on the long trips and things like that. So
but you got to have something like that though, right? With a 2.5, 3 ton boat,
you have to.
You're not pulling that with a sedan.
Nah. VL Commodore.
I was trying to think of something. But so it's the whole package.
It is.
There's a real, and going back to that push for those sort of boats, things like the boat show here in Melbourne, it's almost all that now, isn't it? There's obviously and a huge market for tinnies of all shapes and sizes, but there's a real buzz around the big glass boats that have that look that you're talking about, Edencraft and even those international boats and stuff like that. It's interesting to see what the next step is for the Australian manufacturers, and it'd be cool to see, something maybe that's, I don't know, a bit more gettable for everyone to get their hands on something like that to handle the waters down here.
Yeah, that's right. I think, you sort of see the boating, what type of boats, specific down, south is, it changes everywhere you sort of go from state to state, doesn't it? So,
yeah, it does.
You don't see too many deep V glass boats kicking around sort of the top end of the, up the top end or anything like that. Then you can go back to more your plate boats. So, I guess there's plenty of boats out there to choose from, and, you just got to buy specific to where you want to go fishing, I guess.
Yeah, that's your problem.
Well, that's why I just bought this boat, because then I can just go anywhere.
You can.
Just about. I reckon I can nearly get to Tassie.
Easy. Couldn't you?
Yeah, might have to. If I left from
take some spare fuel.
If I left from the heads, I'd need a bit of extra fuel. But if I drove around to Port McDonald or somewhere, is that close? One of those? Left from there, Port McDonald, or you're a bit closer to King Island from there.
Yeah, getcha. Yeah. Have you opened it up? How fast have you?
Yeah, well, I've opened it up a couple of times. Just under 100.
I'm not surprised. It was a dumb question. How fast are you going in it?
Just under 100 kilometres an hour. But I probably need to wait till I've got
That's fast on the
Well,
water.
that's why I don't have too much fuel and nothing on board. I reckon I might nearly get there. Crack the ton. It's too fast on the water, though. You want to make sure it's flat.
It's quick. It's
Yep.
quick. It's hard to sort of. That's another thing, I suppose, talking about people that you're trying to explain things and people that haven't experienced it. That's fast on water for sure.
Yeah, well, 50 kilometres an hour is bloody quick on water, I reckon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
We've got a spot, a headland that we like to head. How quick do you reckon we could get there? How far is that, I suppose, to paint the
It's
picture
about
for people
from
listening?
Port Phillip Heads to
Yeah.
Cape Shanks,
Yeah.
about 30 kilometres.
30K?
30 Ks, yeah. Bar Crusher, you could get there on a real good day in about 45 minutes. So I
45,
reckon you could definitely get there somewhere in the 30s if it was a good day.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I think we need to
We can
give
do
that
at
a
least
nudge.
60 kilometres an hour, yeah.
Pick our day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Bit of light and all the rest, even no swell, and we hug the beach, we'll get there quick.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. Hey, tell me a little bit more about your coaching at the moment. You're doing some stuff with some younger.
Yeah, underage programs with Cricket Victoria. So
Awesome.
the under 17s and under 19s with Cricket Victoria. So they have each in the under 17s and under 19s there's a country and a metro team. So
Yep.
4 teams combined, which is at this stage of the year it's a fair few young men, young blokes, young
Yeah.
kids. So yeah, just sort of working away with them. A couple of sessions last week in the school holidays. One this week, and then pretty consistently throughout, 1 or 2 nights a week throughout. I think the under 17 national carnival is on in the start of October. So yeah, I'll work with specifically the under 17s going into that and go away with them.
Beautiful.
And then I think it's Thursday nights. A bit of batting and just a bit of coaching with under 17s, under 19s. Throughout the winter and into the lead up to the season. So yeah, it's been good.
Any Cameron Whites amongst them?
There's probably a lot better that are better than me. That's for sure. But there's the country kids have been really good actually. So when the boys or a lot of the other coaches that I'm working with sort of said, sometimes the country kids can be, a bit slow on the uptake. So I didn't take it personally. And, but the country kids have, compared to the metro kids, that is, but, the country kids have been pretty good. I think, they've probably might even have the metro boys covered this year, but we'll wait and see when we get into the...
Yeah.
I'm working for both, and not just.
I was going to say, have you
working with both? Sorry, yep. So, no, I'm not aligned to any one particular team. I'm just sort of like drifting around or floating between all sort of 4 teams. That's country, metro, both the 19s and 17s.
Is there anyone, and just in, I suppose, over the years, is it easy to, or is it possible to spot a superstar in a kid?
They're in Australian cricket, I think we've been looking for the next superstar for a little while. They are the easiest ones to find. You see always, whether it's cricket or footy or work related, whatever it is, the people that are really good are generally the ones that stand out, I guess.
Yeah.
And at a young age, I haven't been, in the coaching, scene, although, via captaincy and playing for a long time, I don't think you would be silly to pigeonhole anyone at 16 or 17 or 18 about their ability. Everyone, you're allowed to improve well into your 20s, 30s, and
I'm still waiting to improve.
Yeah, some cases 40s, and depending on what sport you're doing or what aspects of life. So yeah, it's not just about the talent ID at a young age, but sometimes it's just, what they might be like, especially with fast bowlers. You got these sort of like some of them. There's 16-year-old kids that are 205 centimetres. Like probably their body's still just catching up to the, their mind and their strength and all that sort of stuff. So,
but you see that in footy with ruckman. A lot of them aren't really ready until they're in mid-20s, aren't they? Really, or even late 20s a lot of the time.
Yeah, exactly. They're bigger
Tall
blokes,
guys,
aren't they?
yeah.
Yeah. So it's no different in cricket. And then every now and again, you just get the the young kid that's quite a square. You see the square shoulders, and he's physically pretty on the money already. And I guess it's no different to an AFL draftee. You hear the term like he's ready to go, ready to go, sort of ready-made footballer at 18 or 19. So it's no different in cricket. Some guys are they're just ready to play at an early age, and you can see that with others there's a lot of potential and talent there, but it's going to be a physical and sometimes a skill thing, or mental, or whatever it is. It'll just take a bit longer, but everyone's different.
Yeah. And what about over the years as a player and a captain? Have you identified or even just thought to yourself during a kid's come into the domestic comp, and then within a couple of years, and you've played against them or with them and gone, fucking hell, like this kid.
They come along. Like in Victoria over the years, if I can, the Australian captain at the moment, Aaron Finch, this is sort of, he might have made his debut, 4, 5, 6 years after I started playing. You sort of see him come into the ranks as a junior player, you think, his class is above. And then the next one after that, sort of like someone like Peter Hanscom, who's now playing for Australia. And then just in recent times, we've got a young guy who's now just on the verge. He's playing for Australia at the moment, Will Pukowski. And I think, they're just, 2 or 3 blokes that are, that stand out. But then you get someone, an interesting case, like someone like Alex Keith. Alex Keith is now playing great football for Adelaide Crows, and he's sort of come into, through the pathway system in cricket and in footy, to be fair. And then, he was very passionate about cricket, so he played a few games for Victoria. You could everyone could sort of see the talent, physical attributes, everything he had. And I think he was probably going to make it at a cricketer, but he just sort of didn't have missed out on a bit of luck early on, and end up deciding he went back to footy, and now he's playing sort of great footy for the Crows. So they're talking about him playing being the All-Australian team. So, there's always sort of different cases, isn't there? So,
something like that. Did that shock you?
Oh, no. Someone, you can just, speaking of like physical attributes, Alex had them all. So, and you hear the reports about how good a footballer he was. So, no, that wasn't a shock. I guess it's probably just the hard road. He probably went down starting footy late, especially.
John Hastings always used to tell me he could have been the full forward of Hawthorn for 15 years.
Well, to be fair, I think until Hasto found the piss and the smokes, like I think he was to be fair, he was a pretty good athlete. He's
a big specimen of a human. It would have been hard to beat one out in the goal square.
Maybe. He had a big tank as well, so I'm not sure the goal square mightn't have been. I reckon I could have pushed him under the ball a bit. I mean, you would have enjoyed seeing a few of the young Victorian guys come through, particularly over the last 5 or 6 years, given the Vics didn't get much of a run there for a little while. Yeah, for sure. And that's, to be honest, that's what hopefully I can see coaching now as well. It's about helping young players get better and then progress their career. So along as well as working in a team environment. So you get that enjoyment working with those good elite players for sure. So. And as I just said, I mentioned a few of them that have sort of come through the through the ranks, and they were just batsmen. Then you can you flip over to the bowlers. There's some really good ones as well. James Pattinson, Peter Siddle was debuted. Another Gippsland boy. He debuted in the same Test series as me, and he's had a great career. So you see all these sort of people come through, and there's plenty of other examples as well.
Good to see Finchy smacking him around a bit in the World Cup.
Yeah, he was under the pressure, through our last Australian summer, wasn't he? He was almost on the verge of being dropped, and then all of a sudden he gets a couple of hundreds. And
how accurat's the media pressure as opposed to the internal pressure?
It's always pretty close to the money. Yep. Just adds a bit of extra pressure on you as well. But I think the media aren't silly; they know what's going on, and they've always got their links to the right people.
You're trying to tell me they're always accurate?
No, they're not always accurate, but they're always, in there. If they're smoking fire, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Yep.
Do you believe that in every case, smoke and fire?
No, not every case, but you don't have to. If you're watching the tally and you're paying attention to who's kicking goals or who's not, or who's making runs or not taking any wickets, you can soon know who's under pressure and who's not.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough. I want to just ask you another cricket thing because I love I love finding out about the way brains work. I love it.
Yeah, righto.
I'd just love to know if maybe you don't remember it. I'm sure you do. When you got the gig as captain of Australia, T20 side.
Mm-hmm. Short-lived, but I remember it.
Yeah, but it's something that no one can ever take from you. This is the thing, and I've actually spoken to you about this
captain Australia
before.
in an ODI once, won the game, so I've got one game, 100% record.
Fucking righto, mate. I'm not talking about that. No, but there's the thing, and I've spoken to you about this before, and I'm not saying that you don't already know this or think this, but from a sport, I'm a sport lover, but a fan, and I've never been a professional athlete. But that is something, and again, to represent a country or to represent the team or at a professional level or domestic level or junior level, it's something to be proud of. To represent your country and be the captain. Did you? I'd love to go back and be there when you found that out to see you. Was it a reaction that you were like pumped, ecstatic, but then shit yourself a little bit?
Not really, because captaincy was something no matter what the team was, and from a very early age, it sat pretty well with me from an on-field point of view. So it's I've always thought that I had a pretty good idea of how to do things out in the field. So though I didn't find that difficult, if that made any sense. It was always, as I touched on earlier, the challenges were always, learning about man management and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, like at the time, you think, you probably, took a deep breath and, thought about, probably you think your mind switches straight to like, right, what team are we picking and who, when's the next game and how long have I got to get ready for it sort of thing. So, but then now, finish your career and you look back and, it's like getting a baggy green cap and, same sort of thing. No one can ever take that away from you. So, yeah, it'll be, looking back in a few years' time or however long, it's a nice thing to be able to think, I did that one day. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone, it's not that.
But it is a big deal. I'm not, I feel like in a lot of cases those sort of things get played down a bit. I just think maybe internally, as someone who's been part of the game for 20 odd years, right now it might not be a big deal, or I'm sure it is a little bit, but at some point, maybe upon reflection, it'll be like, and maybe it's when your girls are old enough to go, oh shit, Dad was all right. He captained Australia.
It was a hack, but somehow captained a couple of teams.
You've probably already tried telling them how good you were. I shouldn't say were. You're still playing. Anyway, but that's
Yeah, well, look, hopefully it'll be a nice thing to look back on.
Absolutely. So Adelaide, mate, that's the next step. Before I let you go, pumped?
Yeah, look, it's still a fair way away. Like, Big Bash is late December, start of Feb, so I don't want to peak too early.
Do you have to spend some time there, or are you just sort of in and out? You're a FIFO.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it'll work yet, so I think I'll probably... Everyone's so busy in the lead up to it from a domestic point of view. So I'm playing here in the Premier competition with Melbourne. They've got great facilities. That'll be as good a preparation as I can get. Playing competitive cricket, and then obviously the facilities over in Adelaide are fantastic. So yeah, look, I'd imagine I'd probably get over there, a week or 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it. We work out to be the best sort of preparation for myself and the team and all that sort of stuff. So. Get over there and get stuck into that, but that's probably not going to happen until like mid-December.
And so you'll be there permanently through the tournament.
Yeah, you live there. Anyone that comes, whether you're playing for the Renegade Stars from interstate or me going across to Adelaide, they put you up in a hotel, and the family will pop across probably a couple of times, and who knows how that's all going to work at this stage. But you live there. You're pretty busy anyway. You're on the road. We play a heap of games now, 14 or 15 games now. So. Over about 50 days, so training and other sort of appearances and stuff like that. So you don't get too many days off. So and you're on the road a lot of the time as well. So I've got the two Melbourne teams to play, so I'll be back in Melbourne, at least a couple of times.
Not much sledging in those games, I wouldn't have thought.
No, it's not much anywhere these days. It's pretty tame, to be honest. So
is it?
Yeah, it's not. That's much
disappointing.
No, you're just not allowed to.
Were you a good sledger before they really cut down on?
I never did much sledging, mate. Not much. So, yeah, look, it'll be good once we get over there and get into it. I'm looking forward to it, for sure. But I'll save my excitement for when I get there.
Fair enough. Is the Big Bash tournament still, have they done anything about the time frame of it?
I think it's still, the schedule hasn't been released yet. So usually by this stage, what are we in now? July, it would be out. So I think there is a bit of toing and froing over the schedule. It all comes down to broadcasting and...
Yeah, sure.
At the end of the day, cash. So everyone wants their, to the best deal for themselves. So the broadcasters will probably have the overriding say. But I don't think the players are too fussed about how many. There's a few more games last year. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's just how long the tournament it goes for. Yeah. So I think the players are happy to play the same, roughly the same amount of games, but just condense it a touch.
Is the draw still there for the international guys to come over? Like, is it still? There seem to be less or maybe not as high a profile players coming over.
You're spot on the money there. That's right, and that is the reason because the tournament is so long.
Yeah.
There's other tournaments around the world where overseas players can spend less time away from home and probably get double the pay. So it just makes sense for them to that just makes sense to to go and do. So, we've struggled to attract the bigger name internationals, which is one of the main issues for the competition. So, no doubt they'll be looking into that, whether they shorten the competition, try and pay the overseas more. But then on the flip side, that's a bit unfair to the local players as well. So there's a whole, no doubt, like any sort of organisation or competition, whatever it is, they've got their issues.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, mate,
it's a bloody good comp though.
It is. It's fun. It's so much fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in different colours this year.
Yeah.
Truth be told, I actually was a Stars fan, and then you persuaded me to go over to the Renegades.
Oh, well, I didn't have much choice in that either. So
You threatened with my life. So I don't know about being a Sixers fan, mate. I mean, what are they called?
Strikers. No, we're not going to Sydney. We're going to Adelaide Strikers.
We'll see how we go.
Yep.
I'll watch it. Mate, good stuff. Thanks for dropping by.
No worries. Thanks for the chat.